Welcome to the Create Today podcast. This show is all about how you can create the life that you love one day at a time. And today we're going to talk about how we can create the life for our parents when they need us, because my beautiful guest, Kerri Ann Ronquist, she owns All About You Services. And that's the short name. Kerri, thank you for being here, and tell us what the real name is.
Thank you. It's All About You, Placement and Senior Resources.
It's so awesome. How did you start all of this? What happened? Like, how did you get into this business in the first place?
Well, it's the heavens above, really, and it truly is. So I was 15 years ago. Basically, I tell people, and I've gotten yelled at about this, but
Really?
I was just a mom.
Why do you get yelled at?
Well, both of my sons had some challenges. They were both diagnosed with autism when they were young. And so they were my full-time job. And they're amazing men and have grown into amazing men. But anyway, at that time, that was my job. And my dad went in for a surgery. And unfortunately, he went from the hospital to a rehab. And within days, he was gone. And everything that happened after that, my family and I learned a lot. And it impacted all of us greatly. And what I learned in my own research and the things that I did showed me really directly that you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what to ask, then you don't always get all the answers, and you make the best decisions that you can, and sometimes it ends badly. And so that just put me on a trajectory of moving forward. And All About You was started about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I was in hospice and home health, and I got into the senior industry, and then I decided, to really advocate for families, to advocate for seniors, to be able to help families through journeys, and to honor my dad, honor my mom, my mom's person, my mom, my family, that in the name of all of this, I was like, I am not really living what I feel in my heart I need to be doing.
Wow.
So I had to do it on my own.
Yep.
So I went out on my own, kind of. When I first started All About You, I worked under the umbrella of another person that does placement.
When you talk about placement, what do you mean exactly, just for anybody who's hasn't needed this, hasn't gone through this yet, but I wanted to have you here so that we're prepared. Even if we don't need, even if our parents are okay right now, it can change any second.
Well, and that is a huge thing for me. So part of the company is placement.
Okay.
And so I started off with that part. And what that means is that a lot of people may know it in the aspect of there's a large company that does a lot of commercials online to say that they will help your loved one find the proper place. So I'm very careful about not to say any names. I don't want anybody to get upset. But
it's okay.
But basically what it is that we meet with our families and the seniors, and when they are in need or choose to move into independent living, assisted living, or need memory care, then we meet with them. We do assessments, health assessments, social assessments, financial assessments. Do they need VA assistance? Do they need Medicaid? Like, what does all of this look like for them to move into a setting outside of their own home? Some want to go into independent living because they just don't want the hassle of a house any longer. And others may need to go into an assisted living setting because they still have a lot of life to live. They want to be active, but they just need a little assistance every now and then. So our job is to vet the properties, to see what their survey results are from the Arizona Department of Health, our own personal experiences. I've placed over 700 people, so I know these places inside and out, to make sure it's a good fit on every level, and to make sure it's sustainable, and to make sure when they move there, they find their like people that they can enjoy life. Like, I'm all about I don't care how old you are, but living your best life.
Should still have joy.
Yes. So on the placement arm, that's really what we do. And we are face to face with our families. We don't just give them a list of places to go on their own. We are their advocates. They never pay us one penny to help them with anything. So it's a free service to our families.
That's amazing.
So on the placement end, that's really what that is. But All About You is more than that. And I'm really proud of what it is. We are community-based. We are local. We dig in to the communities and educate. We want people to know what they don't know.
Yeah.
We want seniors to not be afraid of, if they are needing a little assistance, to reach out and get that assistance, whether it's grab bars in their house or, just fall prevention, or maybe they're not driving anymore and they need transportation.
Right.
Maybe they don't know about all the different doctors that are out there and the mobile entities that are out there
that
to
can
help
come to you.
them. Maybe they don't know how to optimize their health insurance to the most, so that they can get the best care that they need. Maybe it's a veteran and they truly don't understand or are confused about their benefits. Maybe they don't understand about All-Tex and Medicaid. And what is that? And what is the realness of what that is and how they can use it? So All About You is that. It's all about them. It's all about what their needs are. And we meet them where they're at. And, some people, it is about placement and proper placement, and then some of those other things. And others, it's just, maybe I've worked with clients where they go, you know what, we are doing great. We're living in our house, we're successful, but anything can happen, and we want to be prepared for the future. So
really smart.
I get with them and we go through, what do you want? What do you see you wanting for your future? And then let's talk about it. Let's look at it. Let's explore it. Let's see what the costs are. Let's come up with a plan and then put it away. You don't need it now, but then later we've already done the work.
Smart.
So that's what I love about what this is becoming and growing, and it's grown so organically. I wanted it to be that way. I wanted it to be people we've helped tell other people.
Yeah.
It's growing in this beautiful way that is actually shocking me every day, because it was just me up until 2 years ago.
Wow.
And now there's 7 of us.
Wow.
And I'm so honored to have the team that I have. And I tell people that I truly believe that my dad is in heaven and he's like the best HR director, and he's bringing me these beautiful humans that feel the same way that I do, that want to help people no matter what the end result is, that know that we're going to work really hard. We're going to go through emotional stuff with families, and all the while always treating people how you want to be treated. Yeah. Honoring seniors, and like, I get mad when they say this is the end of my life. I'm like, no, this is just like a new chapter.
Yeah.
Like,
but it would be so scary. I mean, speaking of the seniors, when they get there,
it is.
I mean, I would think most people, they never want to move out of their home. They want to be independent.
Oh, yes. If
right?
I had $1 for every
so
time
scary.
I heard you're going to take me out of this house when I'm dead.
Yeah.
That's it. And I get that.
But it's not realistic.
No, but you know what? Again, a big part of that is fear and change. Nobody changes. I don't care if you're 5 or 105 unless you're forced to. Like, we don't, like, if your pants are a little tight, then you're like, boy, I think I need to lose a little weight. But if they're not, you don't really.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
So I zipped them up every day. I'm like, yes.
So change is hard for
It is.
anybody. And most of the folks that I work with in the senior population, they don't understand what this industry is now, because all they know is that, and I know this, when my grandfather, when I was like 4, I think, and my mom took me to go see my grandfather because he had to move out of the house, and he moved into the nursing home. He moved into,
we literally used to call them old folks homes.
Yes.
That's what we called them.
Yes.
I mean, no, obviously we don't say that anymore, but
Right.
that's what I grew up.
And that's what they were.
Yeah.
And they weren't really homey either.
No, they were
They
awful.
were very institutional. I still remember like what I saw and the smell of it. Like, I was a little
It's
child.
traumatizing.
And so most of my seniors that is what they believe it to be. Like, you leave your house and then you go there and you're basically in a gown and it's just like a place to go die.
It's no
no
freedom.
Not what it is now.
Now they have so many new
The
places.
assisted livings now are basically, like I say, they're cruise ships without water.
Wow.
Like, basically you have your own apartment, you come and go as you please, you have the assistance privately that you need, but you don't have to grocery shop. You've got, restaurant meals, you've got activities, and you use as little or as much of it that you want. But it is about living your best life. And sometimes with that, you need a little help. But that is what we get pushed back on. And I love when I get those, oh, hell, I'm never leaving people, because I'm going to honor them and say, okay, you don't have to, but let's talk about what it is to really live your best life. And sometimes living your best life isn't held up in your house every single day, all day, and not being with any people. So maybe we look at getting them out and about. Whatever it is, I want to meet them there, but that is the fear. They don't know any different. They don't understand what this industry is now, because all they know is what they knew
Movies
when they
from
were
the 80s
growing up.
or whatever. Yeah. Just as a side note, my mom, the brilliant, amazing woman that she is, she had taught us all how to play piano. And she would have other students come in and she would teach them, to get extra money, because she was a stay-at-home mom. And that's where we would go. We would have all of our recitals there. We would go visit the old folks' homes, and we would go, they'd all gather around, and still traumatizing. It's like, just those places are just not homey. They're not warm. They're horrible.
But
it was fun to, we got a little smile on their face. I mean, they loved it, right? 15 kids come in and sing and play for you. How awesome. So I just love my mom so much for doing that. But yeah, that's the only experience I have.
Yeah, and there really is no need. Like, the nursing homes now are the rehabs that you would go to after surgery. And you'll see on one side is the rehab, and on the other side is the long-term care side, which would be the old school kind of nursing home environment. And so really all of our communities out there, not all, our assisted living communities and care homes are licensed in Arizona in a way that they can assist people all the way through the end of life. So we don't have to have somebody live unless it is absolutely medically necessary. And I've dealt with pretty much every medical diagnosis out there, and we can usually find a much better fit than that, unless it is, again, absolutely medically necessary.
Yeah. What are some of the other things that most people don't know going into this process, who have maybe it's just they don't call anybody or have the plan before something happens, and then their parents have a stroke or have a medical, incident? What are some of the top, 3, whatever, 5 things that people just don't know, and that we could educate my listeners to just be thinking about my parents are 81 and 85. I always thought, well, I never really think about it, because I'm like, well, just move mom in. But how do we know it's going to be mom? How do we know it's going to be dad first? Or, you know what I mean? Yeah. We don't know anything. So what if it's dad? I won't be able to pick dad up if he needed that kind of, I'm strong, but I'm not that strong. There's so many things I'd never think about it. So I was kind of excited about this for anybody listening. How can we help them, and how can we prepare for that phone call that you never know when you're going to get?
Yeah. Well, I'm always an advocate for people talking about things way before you think you need to. Communication is so important, and not being afraid. Like, a lot of my seniors and families won't talk about certain things because they're afraid then it's going to automatically happen. Like, I've talked to people and I've said, do you have your power of attorney paperwork in place? Well, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not ready for that. And I'm like, okay, if talking about it means it's going to happen, then I'm going to talk about losing 20 pounds, because that means it's going to happen right away, right?
Right.
No, it is not.
That's a great analogy.
So I tell people, one of the biggest things I can tell you is that everyone needs to have power of attorney paperwork, whatever age you are.
Okay.
My youngest son turned 18, and 2 weeks later I had him at our attorney's office. And I talked to him about power of attorney paperwork, because now that he's 18, even though I'm his mom and I would bully through a hospital if something happened to him, they don't care because I don't have paperwork. He's 18.
So we should have
So
power
I
attorney
tell
for our
people,
adult kids.
For adult kids.
Oh,
So
I never
if
thought of
you're
that.
talking about that kind of stuff with your kids, and I did, I talked with him and said, listen, you're going to do power of attorney paperwork. And some of the questions the attorney's going to talk to you about are these. If something happens to you, what are your wishes? It gave me the opportunity to talk with all of our kids about what does this look like in the future. Because the power of attorney paperwork does not mean that all of a sudden I'm in charge of him. The same way as when you're 80, if you have power of attorney paperwork in place, that doesn't mean your daughter gets to boss you around. It means that if you are incapacitated and unable to speak for yourself, then your wishes are
Carried out. Okay.
by the person you designate to do so. So power of attorney paperwork is huge. I mean, that is the biggest thing, because exactly what you just said. I will get a call from somebody to say my mom or dad, they had a stroke, or maybe they've had some cognition issues, and then all of a sudden they've had a huge decline. We're in the hospital. And if there's no power of attorney paperwork,
You can't do anything.
then what happens?
What does happen?
Okay, so then we have to go through a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of legal things. There's a whole bunch of things there. So power of attorney paperwork is really important for everybody to have in place and to talk about.
Okay.
It avoids a lot of problems later on. This just popped into my head because of the meeting that I just had. For families, promises that you make to each other are great under certain circumstances. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I have come to meet with families, and I've had wives or husbands or family members laboring with their emotions because something has happened, and they have said, I promised them I would never, ever take them anywhere but home or to my house. I would never put them away. And then we're sitting with a situation where maybe their loved one is well beyond the means of their care. You know, all of us are working. We have kids, we have grandkids, we have lives, we have relationships, we have businesses, we have so many things. And then you have a loved one coming that has super high needs. Maybe they have dementia or Alzheimer's. Maybe they have very high physical needs. And you are holding yourself to a promise, or a spouse is holding themselves to a promise that could end up declining them and their health condition, or is just not reasonable. And so many times I have to have conversations with families to say, listen, we make promises that we can keep, but there's sometimes points where we can't keep those promises. And we have to honor what's best for everyone. And so it's just being real about that, and understanding that sometimes we can't always keep those promises because we
just don't know.
You don't
There's
know
too many unknowns.
what the situation's going to be. Having those conversations with family members to say, hey, let's see what's out there. Let's see if something happens, what do you want? And what do you think can fill in the blanks for everyone to live their best lives? Making sure that we're realistic about what those options are. Because I love my mother. My mom is the coolest lady around. I mean, my friends will tell you that. She is amazing. Does my mom want to live with me, or do I want to live with her? No, not really. You know, I love her and she loves me.
Yeah, of course.
And if we have to, we would.
Of course.
But ultimately, that's not what everybody wants. Like those days of, I remember, you know, having family members where the grandparents lived with them all the time. Like it was just, that was very normal. But unfortunately, that was a different time. And now with our world and our jobs and everything we're doing, it doesn't make the same sense.
Right.
So having real conversations about the what ifs. I mean, I've even told my husband, God forbid something happens to me, or even later in life, if I get a cognitive impairment, I'm like, please put me somewhere nice. Make sure I don't have a mustache and a unibrow. I have my little lotions, and make sure I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But I don't expect you to not live your life because this has moved into mine. Just make sure that I'm good.
Yeah.
And I want you to be good. And that's a weird conversation, but it's conversations that need
Really
to be
need
had.
to have. Yeah. I was going to say, I have one friend whose father has a dementia, and it's cultivating fat. What's the word? It's really, culminating. That's not the right word.
It's moving along.
Moving along. Yeah. Rapidly right now. And so even when you have those conversations, but he doesn't want to go. His mind is not working most of the time. And so her mother is really struggling. It's beginning too much. It's beginning to be dangerous. But even if you have those conversations, don't you have dementia patients that still don't want to go, and they still fight their spouses, and right? Yes. You still have that, right?
Yes, that's the reality of this ugly disease.
Yeah.
I mean, dementia and Alzheimer's, it is growing at the most rapid rate. And I guarantee there's us in the room know multiple people who are dealing with it with their family members. Yes, those are the cases that I want to have my team and I insert as a support system for the families through this, because the one that is challenged with the Alzheimer's and dementia does not see the full picture of what's going on around them. And I will tell my families, like, okay, just think of Alzheimer's dementia as this little horrible little ugly troll that's standing right next to your loved one. And that is what you need to focus like your anger and upset at, because your loved one cannot fully understand the situation, and they can't. And so many of my families will want them to be okay. Like, are you okay with us bringing in help? They can't understand why you're even asking them. And so they're going to dig their feet in. And it's so sad because, even with normal aging, I know I feel it. We lose. We are changing. Our sight is changing. Our hearing is changing. And as you get older, you don't drive as well. And, all these losses.
Yeah.
And so no matter what, and I even feel it now, I'm holding on really dearly to the things that I can do and that I still can do, because I don't want to feel those losses. And it just grows
human
greater
nature
as we get older. And then when you add cognitive impairment and those folks that can kind of tell, I don't remember that, they're holding on even more so for dear life, because it's about honoring them and control and, them just wanting to hold on to whatever they can. So that's a whole nother part. But, yes, they definitely need support through that. The family needs to know that, not in any disrespect of people, but kind of like with your children, sometimes you have to make decisions in their best interest that they may not fully understand. But if you're doing it with a loving heart and a respectful heart, then it's different.
It is.
Yeah, it's just dementia and Alzheimer's is so challenging, and I unfortunately have seen way too many caregivers. Caregiver breakdown is real. And just recently I had a beautiful wife, just this beautiful wife, who was very dear to me. And she was going through a journey with her husband and her daughter, and her husband had Alzheimer's, and she was honoring him in every way, taking care of him. And it was so hard for her. And she ended up passing very unexpectedly.
Oh, no.
And that is unfortunately common.
No way.
Because the folks that are caregivers are bearing the full brunt of the care and the emotion and the exhaustion and the stress and feeling not enough and losing their spouse really day by day. You know, like everything they thought life was going to be is not being that. And the one that they're caring for is receiving the care and is not under that same stress. And so it is not uncommon to have caregivers get worse than the ones they're caring for or pass before the ones they're caring for.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
It's very real. And it's one of my biggest call to actions when I see families that are struggling to be their person, to be their advocate, to get them resources, whatever that is, to help support them through that process, because it is real and it happens. So yes, all of this stuff. So these are things, power of attorneys, having conversations, being real, that anything can happen to anybody at any age, and trying not to make these promises that maybe you can't keep, because we just all never know what's going to happen. And then not being afraid to ask for help and getting good, trusted help to come in. Because another big thing for me and my team is that there are a lot of great people out there in the senior healthcare arena, but in Arizona, we're going to be more senior 65 and older than 65 and under at some point. Like, this is where people are not going to other states where it's snowing to retire. Like, Arizona is really an attractive place to be for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And so with that brings a lot of people coming in to support, and maybe not everyone has all the best intentions. And so I think it's really, really important to vet the people that you are working with, to talk with them, ask them, why are you doing this? Get referrals, check them out. I tell people, go on social media, go on Facebook, Google me, go see whatever you can about who I am. If you want personal references, I'll give them to you. I want people to know why I'm sitting with them and what my intentions are. And so I tell people, know who you are talking to, expect more from them, expect training and certifications, expect that they're going to go face to face with you, that they're going to sit with you, they're going to sit with your loved one, they're going to get to know you and what you need, they're going to take the time to be with you and walk through the entire journey with you, no matter what that is. Expect that from the people that are helping you and your seniors.
So that if you're not getting that, find someone else.
Yes, because you know what? I know when I was looking for anything for our children when they were little, I wouldn't just be like, oh, you know what you're doing? Yeah, why don't you come babysit my kid and I'm going to leave the house? Why would we do anything less for our seniors?
Right. Because I think we've come to the point where we just have blind trust to anybody in scrubs. I mean, I think that's one issue that we have. You know, we've given away our own power so many times for so many years. I think we're ingrained in us that if somebody has a title and has a uniform that looks like a nurse or a doctor, that they have all the answers and all the solutions, and we are powerless.
I highly respect everyone in the medical arena.
Me too.
But I also tell families, doctors and hospitals are a business just like any other. The rehabs are a business just like any other. You have the right to question. You have the right to advocate for yourself. You have the right to say, that doesn't sound like what I want to do. You have the right to do that. If something doesn't feel right, go with it.
Listen to your gut.
Yes. Yeah.
You have the right to choose.
Yes.
And to leave. And, to, there's so many choices out there.
Yes.
Well, that's good. Also, so we are, if you have, aging parents, or like you said, what's aging anymore? I mean, like you said, anything can happen at any age.
Yes.
So we really don't even want to wait until what you may think is quote unquote old. What is old anymore? People get dementia when they're 50. Yeah. I'm almost 50. Yeah. That's crazy, but it happens all the time. Yes. So my parents, thank God, we still have them at 81 and 86, and you have no idea. So, what are some other things that we can do to prepare?
Well, I mean, just what we've said. I mean, just have open conversations
Okay.
and just, have open eyes. I mean,
Okay.
I am such an advocate for people living their best life, no
Yep.
matter what age they are.
Right.
And you know what? It's about being real and saying, do you know your loved one best? Okay. And if you start to see changes, don't be afraid to say something. Don't be afraid to say, hey, Mom, you know what? I've noticed that you used to do your hair all the time, and now, do you do you want to go, like, we can do like a day at the hairdresser together? Shall we go do pedicures together? Maybe Mom is a little more fearful about driving. Like, those little changes can snowball into things that all of a sudden it's somebody that's basically hiding themselves from the world because they're seeing differences in themselves. Just you know your loved one's best. And if they're not living their best life at whatever age that is, and ask them, what do you want?
Yeah.
And how can I help you through that? I mean, our parents helped us through our lives. Why can't
Sure
we
did.
help them live their best lives?
I sure did. That's such great advice. Everything you're saying is something that I never thought of before.
It's about living
so
your
glad.
best lives.
It
I mean,
totally is.
we all have one life. The things that we share together are birth and death and the life in between. And why not make it the very best that we can? I mean, I've known folks that are in wheelchairs and maybe they have macular degeneration and their sight's going, but they're still out living their best life because they have the opportunities to, and we've given them the path. And everyone needs purpose. Everyone needs to feel good. Even my folks with dementia and Alzheimer's, when I've had cases where I'm working with them and maybe they don't even really know their own family anymore, I advocate for them and I see things through their eyes by saying, okay, tell me about them. Who were they? Where did they grow up? What did they love? Because even though they are in this space, we need to give them love and purpose and feeling and allow them to feel like good still. So we need to put that stuff around them because the essence of who we are never changes. So even folks that are further along in their disease process, we still have to meet them where they're at so they can live their best lives.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of the things, I don't want to scare anybody, but you have so much knowledge. I'm having a hard time choosing questions. What are some of the things that could have been prevented if the children or the loved ones, I guess it's not always children, but the loved ones had done these things? Are there any cases or stories? I don't want, to have a bunch of sad stories, but I mean, you know what I mean? But like, what are some of the things that could have been prevented or could have helped them live their better lives if they had, known about these things? I think most people just don't know. One of the reasons why.
Also, I mean, we're going back to the beginning. You don't know what you don't know.
You just don't know.
And you know what? All of us are busy.
Yeah.
We're really busy people. We fit in the love of being with family in our lives, and we're always trying to navigate and go through that. So it's not by any fault of anyone that we, don't see things.
Yeah.
But it's what you make of it after the fact.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also come into situations where people have been environmentally hospice appropriate or environmentally really declining because maybe their senior loved one has, maybe their spouse passed, and they are at home and they're not going out, they're not doing anything anymore, and they just don't want to go out anymore. And so they're getting sicker, they're sleeping more, they're really in a bad place. And I've had a lot of great success stories when we've gotten in and we've found a common ground to talk about. And we found a place to say, let's try something different because maybe this isn't working. And we've been able to change the environment by either bringing in caregiving or getting them out and about in a program or finding a really good assisted living. And we've gotten them out of that trajectory of continued decline and doing really well.
That's so beautiful.
So the thing is that I don't count anyone out
Yeah.
And in any case, even my toughest cases, I'm like, all right, where are we at and where are our areas of improvement?
How can we improve their quality of life?
Yes.
Even
So-
if they fight you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because actually the ones that fight, they've got fight. So let's just,
Good thing.
Here's the other thing. People listen to me differently. I'm not their daughter. I'm not their family member. So they're going to talk to me differently, and I can talk to them differently. And they're going to meet me in a different space, where maybe they won't, maybe if I go visit and say, hey, just get in the car with me. Let's go look at one of these places. We're going to look, you can have lunch, and we're going to leave. The end. Nothing else. And we're going to come home. Not signing any papers, not making any decisions, but just come with me and look. And you wouldn't believe how many people have been like, well, I didn't know. I had no idea.
That's actually really nice.
Yeah, don't tell my daughter.
And they still tell you not to tell your daughter,
and
their
I
daughter.
tattle all the time. But they know that. They know that
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, why are you sitting around? This is not you. Like, come on, let's get up and let's live life.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
So, and for some folks, maybe they can't because of their medical condition or cognition.
Right.
But we still are about living your best life.
There's an option for
There's
every
always
person, every
options.
stage, every age, every situation, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's so cool. I
And
didn't know
sometimes they're
that.
just a support to the families. The families just need that. They need that voice on the other end of the phone that understands where they're at, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, during COVID, I went back to school. I tutored under a nurse and a doctor that I respect greatly in the Valley that are board certified patient advocates. And I tutored under them, and I took the exam. I didn't pass it the first time because it was not easy, but I took it the second time and I passed it.
You did.
And
Good job.
that's because being an advocate, throwing that word around is not what I like to do without having the backing to say, you know what, I went through the steps to do that. But the reason why I tell you that is because I get phone calls all the time from people that just need to run something by me, want to talk about a frustration or whatever's going on with their family member, or their loved one goes into the hospital and they're given that list of rehabs and I don't know who to choose. And what do these stars mean? I love that. I want people to do that. It builds a relationship and it gives them somebody to come to support them where they're at in whatever that moment is. And then later, they'll call me later and say, hey, remember me, and can you come talk to me and my mom, because I think it's time for us just to talk. All of that is what I want to. That's why I love building this team, because I just feel like we're going to reach more people to help more people wherever they're at for whatever they need.
Right.
And hopefully also set the bar of the standard of expectation of what people should expect when people are helping them with their seniors.
Because most people don't have a standard? Is that
They
why you
don't
say
know
that?
what to expect.
Yeah, so you're helping them, and so that their loved ones will get the best care? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and also expect from us a certain level of training, a certain level of attention, making sure that, again, I mean, I've worked with people where they got placed and they never even saw anybody in person.
Oh my gosh.
Like, how do you do that?
How did you choose that?
I wouldn't want anybody to help me that never took the time to meet me.
Yeah. Not in a million years. Wow.
So all of these things are, yes, I mean, I could talk forever, obviously, about all this.
I love it.
I don't,
I think you're incredible.
It's about communication. It's about being prepared. It's about all those things that we do all through life, but then we just stop doing because it's uncomfortable to talk about as we age. So just don't stop doing those things. Don't stop planning. Don't stop talking. Don't stop supporting. And don't stop living.
Yeah, because a lot of the loved ones that you're saying, they're trying to take care of the people that need to take care of them, they stop living. Yeah.
Everyone.
It becomes like a full-time job.
And nobody likes that. I tell my families, if you're good, if you're living your best life, you're going to come to your loved one with really good energy, and that feels a lot different than when you come to your loved one and say, okay, when did you take your meds last? When did you go to the restroom? Did you eat today? You know, now we've flipped the relationship from family to caregiver, or to now the mom is feeling like their child is momming them.
Right.
You know, like it's stressful, and it changes the dynamic of relationships.
Our dear friend passed away this year, and she insisted that she stay in her home. And I cannot stop thinking about her, because I wonder what could have been different if I would have known you back then, if I would have thought about it, if I would have, if we would have just even explored it at all.
Yeah, and
she had people coming to her house, but
and that's okay.
she didn't. She fired the night person, and then, and her poor daughter. She's dealing with, not dealing with it, but trying to help her and advocate for her and trying to help her make good decisions. And she was in and out of the hospital. It was a nightmare. Yeah. But she just over and over and over insisted on being in her own home. And then she ended up falling and dying when she didn't have the person, because she had fired her night person. Yeah. And it's like, man, it's so sad to me. All of it is so sad. Like, listening to you talk, that's all I can think about is my friend Iris. Like, I wonder if she still could have been with us right now, Yeah. And if I would have known you, if she would have had, if we would have known more, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that we can't always stop bad things from happening.
I know.
I know that firsthand. My mom knows that. My sister, my kids, we know that firsthand. Yeah. Because we couldn't stop what happened from happening. But a big thing for me, for my families, is that if you feel like you've done everything you could do, and something bad happens, you at least know you did everything you could. So one of the things that I would say to your friend is that she did the best that she could. And sometimes that's my job when I come into families, is just to support the families, to say, now, have I had those ones where they won't leave their house and they won't accept any help? Absolutely. And then my job turns different. My job is about being real with the families, supporting them, helping them through understanding that we can't change some people's decisions about how they choose to live their lives.
Right.
We can just guard ourselves and love them and know that we are doing the best that we can.
That's so beautiful. You're like an angel for everybody struggling with, their parents or their loved ones that are getting sick or they need help. And you're you're their therapist.
I tell people that, I tell my clients, when they talk to me, I'm honored because the things they're talking to me about are emotional and intimate and private and many times exposing. Yeah. And when they come to me and they let me into that world to help them, they honor me and bless me by that. And every family I work with, it's just like I tie a beautiful little bow right on my heart to say, thank you for honoring me, because I'm here to help you. I'm not perfect. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to get it, but I'll dig in with you in every way that I can to be there. So thank you for what you just said. Because one of my goals is that, for this all about you is to honor my family. And if my family's world was going to be changed so greatly, it better have been for something really, really fantastic, because my mom and dad are pretty freaking awesome.
And you're doing it every day. Wow. You're such a beautiful person. Thank you so much for being here. Anybody who needs you, how do we find you?
On Facebook. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
Google me, call me. I mean, forever, people, social media, people will reach out. Any way.
Yeah. And I'll put all the links in the show notes, but I like, just in case you're driving, for anybody who's driving, listening to it, it's all about you placement. And Kerri Ann, thank you so much for sharing everything.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
And for all of you listening or watching, thank you so much for being here and supporting my show and just being here to listen to Kerri Ann. And I just wanted you to remember that you can create the life that you love. Just take it one day at a time. And then when it's your time to create the life for your parents or your loved ones, your elderly aunts and uncles, whoever it may be, and we can help them create the life that they love as well, all the way till the end. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing. So thank you. God bless you. Thank you, Kerri Ann.